Master horse racing with daily racing forms Formulator, now free for DRF Bets members. Sign up to get the best bonus in racing with a $250 deposit match, plus a $10 free bet and free Formulator past performances. Go to drf.com/bet to play like a pro today.
Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at race number 10 at Belmont Park on Sunday. It's the redrawn Grade 2 Wonder Again Stakes. 3-year-old fillies going a mile and an eighth on the inner turf. $200,000 is the purse. Race originally scheduled for Thursday. We'll get it on Sunday as we take a look at the field. It's a pretty evenly matched group. Chad Brown as the 2 Revalita, 5-2 morning line favorite. Chad Brown as the 3 Venencia, 7-2 co-second choice. Chad Brown as the number 5 prerequisite, 6-1 on the morning line. As usual, he's very well represented in these turf races.
Yeah, that's not the least surprising thing in the world, Dad. He's probably going to have the 2 favorites come post time as well. And I think both the 2 and the 3, boy, they both have something to offer in here.
Also have the Timeform US Pace Projector, one of Chad's trio, the 5 prerequisite, chased some fast fractions in her maiden wins last time out. But I really think that the 8 Spansive, who hasn't been headed in each of her 2 lifetime starts, is expected to be on the lead. John Velasquez has got to be pretty aggressive. You don't want to get hung out wide going into the first turn, going a mile and an eighth on the inner.
Yeah, I think the decision might have been made for them there at the redraw, Dan. They'll probably just try to make the lead in here. And I think she's fast enough to get there. I get that prerequisite is exiting a race that was running a really solid pace going this distance last time, but I don't really look at her as a speed. I thought the 8 would be up there, and I think the 4, Juniper's Moon, who's very versatile, I think she's going to be forward as well.
If there is a hot pace up front, keep an eye on the number 1, All American Beauty, coming off a first level allowance win at Keeneland. We're going to watch that performance right now, and this horse kicks very hard in the stretch. She fell far behind early. She's down on the inside, but she's kind of got to squeeze her way through in between horses. She looked good finishing it off for Shug McGahee, and it looks like she's getting better with each and every start.
It does look like that. I like the way she finishes here, mostly because she was sort of in tight there in the upper stretch, and she's still between here in the final furlong. This leader is coming back to them a little bit. I don't think that should go overlooked, but this is another good finish from this filly, and that's what she's done in all 3 of her turf starts, Dan. 2 of those wins with really big late moves. The Florida Oaks, she did not get a clean run, and I think ran better than it looks. And most of all, when this race was scheduled for Thursday, she had the far outside post. Now she has the rail. That makes a huge difference going this distance on the inner turf course.
Jose Ortiz picks up the mount on the number 2, Revalita, our morning line favorite for Chad Brown. This horse has raced twice in North America with good finishes both time, beaten less than a length in the Here Comes the Bride. She had an outside post in the Edgewood, but I don't think it adversely affected her. Jose Ortiz was able to get her into the 2 path going into the first turn, and that's where she stayed before swinging 4 wide into the stretch. She stayed on okay for second behind the front running winner, Heavenly Sunday. I can understand anyone that was a little bit disappointed she didn't forge on past. She's the kind of filly that's going to hope for some pace up front.
Yeah, agreed. I thought her stateside debut was a good performance, and one that, maybe she really needed too. I thought she ran pretty well there, Dan. Like you, it sounds like I wasn't quite as taken with her Edgewood. She ran fine in there, but I thought she had a real chance to win. And it's also, it should be pointed out, she was 3rd best in there because Mission of Joy, who came back to win, that horse had a real trip in that race and was probably going to win if she could have gotten clear in time.
Uncoupled stablemate, the number 3, Venencia, was a debut winner over the all-weather in France, then came over to North America off the layoff with this performance at Keeneland. She finished 3rd in this race as the favorite. Like a lot of European horses, Mike, she just didn't get away to a very good start. She swings to the outside in the stretch. She runs on late. As a first start off a layoff, I think Chad Brown has to be pleased with this. It's a good building block performance. I'd like to see a little bit more tactical speed.
Yeah, we'll see. She's got to get out of the gate better this time, but you would hope she would do that. I think all in all, this is maybe an underappreciated performance. That it's going a mile only. It was not a fast pace, and she did make up ground at the end there, despite the slow start. I thought that was a perfect starting out point for her. Her debut win last November in France, it was on a different surface, going longer though. She finished really hard in that race. I thought she looked really good winning that race.
Acts like a mile and an eighth. Pedigree says she'll appreciate stretching out to a mile and an eighth. And if she does get out of the gate better, she's a filly with a tremendous amount of upside, arguably the one with the most upside of any in this field. Juniper's Moon, you mentioned her tactical speed. That's probably her greatest asset. Here's her most recent start at Belmont, going a mile and a 16th off of a short 2 months left. We'll show that in a little bit when we talk about Spansive. Spansive was able to control the pace up front. Juniper's Moon was held up behind that slow pace. She ran on well for second. I think she ran just as well as the winner.
Yeah, I do too. She ran well in there, and she was a little bit more settled too, because that was an issue in those two Tampa races where she was, more forwardly placed, but she was also really hard to settle in those races. She seemed a little handier to me last time. She was also on the outside the entire way while Spansive was controlling things. I thought she ran really well again, and I think she could even take another step forward here. I like all of her turf races.
The 5 prerequisite was wired by Spansive in the career debut at Gulfstream. Spansive just got away with such an easy pace, 25-1, 49-2. Prerequisite, I think, was a little bit dirtied up coming into this start. Start number 2 at Belmont, going a mile and an eighth on the inner. She showed a lot more early interest. She stayed close to the pace, and here is prerequisite finishing it off. All in all, a good performance from start to finish, and she's got tactical speed.
She did. She really improved. It feels like in that second career start going this distance there. The pace was solid. She kept close to it. She won pretty easily at the end as well. This is a filly who got sort of forced out and then bumped at the start of her debut. Spansive, of course, wired that field. She improves a lot in here, Dan. This is a nice performance.
This is a good performance. And again, I think she has a lot of upside. The tactical speed is there. It's nice to know that she can handle this mile and an eighth. And of the Chad runners, she's likely to be the best price of the 3. The 6 is 30 Thou Kelvin, a winner on synthetic, a winner on dirt. Now she's got to figure out the turf. She's run well on the surface in the past. Last time out on the hilltop at Pimlico a couple of weeks ago, she fell far behind. She passed some tired horses in the stretch. I think she has to do better because I don't believe she's the best closer in the field.
Yeah, I don't either. And it's actually, to me, it's kind of interesting the way that her running style has evolved recently, Dan, because going back to her as a 2-year-old, her turf debut at Saratoga, that was a really fast pace that she was setting. And she actually ran a very underrated race there to hang on for third. Since then, they just don't ride her like that anymore. They take her back and she tries to make one run. I think that's going to work against her here.
I think the key to this race is the 7 Be Your Best, because we know that when she's at her best, she's certainly good enough to win a race like this. She won her first 2 starts, then she ran third in the Miss Griot over a very yielding turf course, a race in which she sort of just was maybe compromised by the way the race was run, as well as the track condition. In the Breeders' Cup, she didn't have a very good trip. Now, she didn't run well in her one start this year. It was the Appalachian at Keeneland. It was a disappointing effort. Can you just say, listen, it was a wet turf course. It was off the layoff. We can give her a mulligan as she now drops in class? Or was that a sign that maybe she hasn't returned as good this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the toughest call on the race, maybe. I really liked her as a 2-year-old. I thought she was, a surefire top 3-year-old turf filly, even after the Breeders' Cup, where you mentioned she did not get a good trip in that race. I was really excited to see her come back in that grade 2 last time at Keeneland. She didn't run well in there, Dan. I don't know, maybe she just needed the race. I certainly wouldn't argue too hard with anybody who wanted to come right back to her, especially at the morning line price. I was pretty disappointed, though.
Completing the field is Spansive. She started twice. She hasn't been headed in any of those races, including this start, going a mile and a 16. She's had pretty easy paces in both of these races. Here's Spansive turning for home with the lead. We'll see Juniper's Moon get up for second. Spansive's speed is valuable in these turf races, where a lot of times the pace isn't very fast. She might have to work a little bit harder as she steps up in class.
Yeah, drawing outside didn't necessarily help her. We'll see. Maybe she just gets to the front again, though, Dan, and keeps going. I do think she's had soft trips in her first 2 starts. I also feel like she showed a good amount of talent because in both of those races, she had to do some running through the stretch, and she was up for it both times. So I do think she has some talent. She's got to stretch out, though. This is a better field. And if she's going to be one of the favorites, I'll probably try to beat her. But I think she's actually pretty good.
Top pick time for race number 10 at Belmont on Sunday. It's the grade 2 Wonder Again Stakes. Mike, you're going with All American Beauty. There's a chance this pace is solid, and we know she kicks in the stretch.
Yeah, I'm just going to hope that she works out a trip here. She's got a great post to do that. She can save some ground and then try to put in a stretch run here. We'll see if it's good enough. I took her on top Mostly over the three of the three Chads. I prefer the 3 Venencia, but I wound up putting the 1 on top because I think she's going to be a great price in here.
She should be a very good price. She's been a price in most of her starts. Revelita's been very consistent. I'm curious to see if she can take another step forward. I don't want to take too short a price on the tote. She's 5-2 on the morning line. I won't take anything less than that. But she has looked pretty good in her North American starts, especially the one at Gulfstream, which I like better than the one at Churchill last time out. 1342 for Mike, 2847 for me. It's the redrawn Grade 2 Wonder again, race number 10 at Belmont on Sunday. Best of luck.